This is going to be your guide for using Trevenant in Pokemon Unite. So the first thing I want to talk about are battle items, because there's been a lot of changes to battle items, and we're going to see how Trevenant can fit into that. X attack, I don't consider that great of an option, even though it got some crazy buffs. Trevenant is a tank, and its scaling isn't that insane, so we're going to have to look elsewhere. X speed. Definitely viable. You want to keep people locked in your zone of influence, pain split, curse, stuff like that. So being able to run people down, just keep hitting them with auto attacks as well, getting your healing, that's going to be pretty good. Eject button, I feel like the devs have been trying to balance everything, buff everything around eject button to create balance. I don't think it's that crazy. Slow smoke. This might be the one. You have multiple ways of getting in on Trevenant. You're supposed to be locking people down with multiple layers of hard crowd control. Slow smoke. You drop it in there, they really can't retaliate with any auto attacks, regardless of what they are. And then also they're just kind of stuck in, sets up for a lot of follow-up for the team. Slow smoke really seems like the way to go, and that's really it. You should never be running Gold Getter on any Pokemon, and Potion is also not really that good. So slow smoke or X speed on the Trevenant is going to be the play. Now let's go and look at the items, which we saw a little bit early on. So let me go and find Trevenant. So, Buddy Barrier, it's still pretty much a mandatory item on almost every Pokemon, and when we get into how the abilities work on Trevenant, you're going to see why Focus Band also pretty mandatory, which leaves a lot of potential options for the third slot like many Pokemon have. In theory, you're thinking, yo, I want to keep them slowed, throw down that Razor Claw, get a little bit of bonus damage. Doesn't really play out. Trevenant isn't going to be getting any extra crit scaling or crit benefit, so the 2% kind of doesn't exist, the low attack scaling. You're really only playing it for the passive, and Trevenant's damage doesn't really make up for it, and it's already doing so much crowd control. The little bit of Razor Claw slow, not really going to be needed on the Trevenant. While it feels nice, not going to be needed, and you're not really that crazy of a damage Pokemon. I've seen people suggest the Rocky Helmet. Is this the one Pokemon that was made for Rocky Helmet to have viability? No. Even with the 5% weird cooldown health interaction on how it procs and keeping people close as a melee disruption tank, you're not getting enough procs to make it worth it, and it's just going to be less health effective than Eos Cookie. So you're not getting much out of that. Same thing for Assault Vest. You're kind of always in there, so you're not getting enough out of Assault Vest to kind of justify it. Weakness Policy, it's not a big tank item, and you aren't really going in there for the damage. So yeah, there's kind of one track for Trevenant. Until there's changes, until Focus Band and Buddy Barrier get a nerf, and there's some crazy burst brawler AD Trevenant that makes its way onto the scene, this is going to be the play. And if you get rid of the Focus Band because you think the passive is strong enough, try to put in some kind of health item, maybe this is where you would put in Rocky Helmet. But then you just think about it for half a second. Rocky Helmet is never as efficient as Focus Band, even if you're considering Focus Band downtimes and stuff. And after one score, Eos Cookie is more health effective. You get more effective health. You take more damage from all sources and survive than if you just have Rocky Helmet against physical, and the passive still doesn't really do much of a thing. Buddy Barrier is self-explanatory. So now let's hop on over to Pokemon Unite DB, talk about the abilities, and then we can show some gameplay later. Natural Cure. You have a Focus Band in your passive, which is why people might consider, do I need double Focus Band? Yes, you do. Your early laning is pretty weak, and if the opponent brings Focus Band, you're at a strict disadvantage because they also have passives and abilities and other things going for them. And while you have decent abilities, they're not the best early game abilities, so you are going to have some vulnerability, and you don't scale until level 7, so that's going to be it. But yeah, a lot of healing, weird interactions. Every time you hit an opponent with an ability, it's not every tick of Curse, or else that would be insane, or every tick of Pain Split, but as long as you use your ability, someone gets hit by it, you get a flat 10-second cooldown reduction for that ability usage, and it's going to be 8 ticks of 2% with some level scaling, so kind of like a Focus Band level of healing when you drop below 35% on the Natural Cure with about a Focus Band cooldown. And the idea is just play around this on Trevenant. Trevenant becomes pretty much unkillable while all of this stuff is up. And even if it gets a little desynced, that's better, because then you always have some kind of clutch healing uptime, which is pretty nice. Third attack, that's going to give you 5% max hit point healing, pretty good. And then we can look at how your abilities play out. So I think Curse and Woodhammer are equally viable, and they have two much different skill expressions and like playstyles around them. So depending on which one you like more, it's hard to kind of look at an opponent's team and be like, oh yeah, I want Curse over Woodhammer, I want Woodhammer over Curse. If they have low mobility, Woodhammer, line them up. But even if they have low mobility, then you can just kind of clump them together and get a lot of power out of Curse as well. So it's going to come down to which one you feel is better, like you can use personally better and get more effectiveness out of. As for Pain Split, Hornleech is just too good, man. Hornleech, the crowd control is so long. It's like a Morgana bind that shoves you and then roots you at the end, for those of you who play League of Legends, where you can get up, make a sandwich, come back, realize you left your drink in the kitchen, go grab that drink, and then take a whiz. And you're still getting knocked up. So Hornleech is going to be just like what you need. However, gotta be very precise with using it. I think one of the trickiest things about Trevenant is, even though the abilities are like a paragraph of text, kind of have like a light novel if you're just understanding everything about Trevenant, I want to kind of touch on the video, but I also don't want this video to be forever long and then I'm just reading an audiobook. But you need, like, you can understand it. It's straightforward Pokemon, a little bit of nuance, but you have to have really good skill usage. If you can't land abilities, Trevenant not going to be for you, because you Hornleech yourself out of the fight, and now it's a 5v4 and your team is just wrecked. Phantom Forest, pretty strong Unite move, synergizes with that Buddy Barrier. The things to take note of are like how Curse works, because there's going to be a meter, and when that meter fills up, it's going to reset the cooldowns of your other abilities, which is something you definitely really need to play around. And it also has like damage interactions, so if you can get it to pop, you know, you're going to get a nice little bit of burst at the end. But as we can see, the attack scaling kind of low, even on like this big kind of wind-up move, that if I'm running Weakness Policy, for example, we got 249 attack, Weakness Policy gives us 15, I think it actually gives us like 24 at max, but depending on like your level 30s and stuff, and then you get an extra 12% on top of that. So I mean, Trevenant's got 300 attack. You're getting 450 extra damage on a 6-ish second cooldown move that needs to be up for a couple of seconds. So like an extra 450 damage every 10 seconds with perfect Curse usage doesn't really justify the Weakness Policy. I'd rather have the 1000 flat health that is giving me more passive healing, and more Focus Band healing, while also scaling with my Buddy Barrier. You want that effective health. Woodhammer hurts you, but if you're living life on the edge, you get to crowd control them longer. And Pain Split is the one that gets kind of weird. Also, like, Hornleech heals Trevenant 3 times, lower Trevenant's health, the more hit points that's recovered. So if you use it below 40 hit points, you get 18% of your max hit points back, which is going to feel pretty good. Also, you get random basic attack buff. I don't think that's necessary, but there we are. And as you can see, bonus damage, once again, low attack scaling. So Trevenant's just there for the crowd control and to be annoying and unkillable, which makes sense. So, whereas Mamoswine is like massive, team-wide, hard crowd control with surprising amounts of burst damage and one-shot potential on squishies, Trevenant's just there to hold a team down, not die, and then wait for his team to back him up. And that's why you want that slow smoke. Pain Split. So, Pain Split, like, you might find yourself hopping onto a Trevenant, like if you're using or playing against it. Like whenever Trevenant is just getting dueled on, you're going to melt the other person by them breaking themselves upon you. And it's also damage redirection, which is kind of nuts. And then you want to be lower than them, and then you heal and deal damage. So you kind of get in that sweet spot where like your passive is offsetting their damage, and then you're still below them, so they're ticking down and breaking themselves upon you. And then maybe that, like, the idea here is Pain Split gets them, like, you both are at like 5% health because you become slightly unkillable, and then they're just like weakening themselves on you, and you get that Curse pop and then get a KO. But what I don't like about it is that's mostly like single target. You kind of get on, it's absolutely single target because that's how Pain Split works. You get on one person and you make their life annoying and they can't hit you and you just get in the way. Also, if they have like closest targeting attack on, then you just want to be in their face. You want to absorb everything and there's nothing they can do about it. Whereas Hornleech, you can round up an entire team, or Woodhammer, you can stun multiple Pokemon, do more damage, and have like big team fight influence there. So it's kind of like Mamoswine that way. If you're running Curse Pain Split, it's the low skill cap, lower reward, still alright single target disruption, but Hornleech Curse or Woodhammer Curse, that's going to be the team-wide, game-changing, higher skill cap. You miss it, look bad, lose the game kind of kind of move on Trevenant. So let's get into the practice tool and show off how you want to play this guy. So, when it comes to Pokemon Unite, laning is getting more and more important, especially over the contest. You don't want to fall behind, then lose to the gank, and then just make that, like, the early mid-game unrecoverable. So it's good to know, like, what you want to do and how you line up against Audinos or the Apalms or something like that. Now, this is where you might think, like, oh, I want to point blank the Will-O-Wisp because it does more damage if I hit him with more things, and then follow it up on the Branch Poke. But that's why I have, like, the move cooldowns turned off, because it seems like it's not as clean as, you know, Lucario, Quick Attack, Meteor Mash, kind of secure. And what I'm liking is the idea of Will-O-Wisp Branch Poke, because they kind of land at the same time. It's not doing full Will-O-Wisp damage, but you are getting more burst damage on top of it, as opposed to, like, Branch Poke Will-O-Wisp, because there is going to be that cast time. You have to wait for the dash to finish on the Pokemon, and then you also have to, like, turn around and use the Will-O-Wisp. Also, like, depending on where you are and where the opponent's Pokemon are, you can't just int into the opponent's Pokemon kind of going through. So you might need to, like, tip it and then still throw the Will-O-Wisp. So you could also just, like, whiff the Will-O-Wisp and look bad because of the targeting if it, like, just snaps to another Pokemon or, like, snaps to an enemy or something. So I like the idea of, like, for secures, you just kind of do this because it's going to be tagging at the same time if you actually get in range, instead of going Branch Poke, then, like, bursting on the Will-O-Wisp. It's all dynamic, it depends on situations, but yeah, you can just kind of lose out. Now, Branch Poke does have the slow, so if you can kind of line it up to where, like, you're hitting an enemy while also securing the Audino, and then, like, you can tag them with a Branch Poke, get damage, just stick on them. You know, that's when you drop your Slow Smoke, that's when you drop your X Speed, and that's when you just go and hurt them. That's kind of it. You just, the laning, you're hoping for a steal. You're kind of praying that something happens. Also, with the burn damage on Will-O-Wisp, there's a little bit of a tick there. If there's a little bit of scuff, if they throw it too early, if your teammate is following up, maybe you get a secure, but securing is pretty important, so that's going to be something you have to, like, really develop a feel for in any Pokemon, and there's a little bit of tech when it comes to the Phantom. So now, let's evolve. Well, we already are evolved. Let's get level 7, and we can talk about some of the things going on. So yeah, Hornleech is just nuts. Like, you just carry them. They don't get to play Pokemon Unite for a while. And as we talked about with Curse, you can reset the cooldowns of abilities. But as you might notice, Hornleech is small. It's easy to miss Hornleech. And that's why X Speed is viable. Like, Slow Smoke is for after you hit them with it, and you just keep them locked down inside your Curse, just being more annoying. X Speed is like kind of Crustle vibes, where it's like, okay, you can run through their Slow Smoke, you can run through their crowd control, and then you can get behind them and then push them into your team and then keep them knocked up. As for Curse, so you hurt yourself as you're using it, that's why you want to just keep auto-attacking them, heal up through it, do all that stuff, and that purple bar kind of shows all the things that can happen. So you can use, there's like a couple of ways of approaching this, you know, use Hornleech to engage, then you set up your Curse, and you don't want to proc it like that, so don't overly mash. Buffering gets kind of weird in this game sometimes. So yeah, like, Hornleech, get that Curse, hit it, wait, make sure it's purple, and then just, actually, depending on how it goes, you can throw it again, proc it as you're going, and then do it again. So that's like another piece of tech, whereas if Curse is about to wear off, and it cancels as you're Hornleeching, the Hornleech cooldown comes back, so you can get 3 Hornleeches, but there's a lot of, like, chaos and stuff going on in a fight, so that's something to keep in consideration. But also, setting up Curse means, like, they're getting dragged, taking Curse damage while all that's happening, and that's also going to charge your Curse, and then you can kind of keep on getting more. So you have to have, like, weird eyes looking around the screen, because I've tried to, like, watch the Hornleech cooldown and watch the Curse cooldown and try to, like, time it together and stuff, but for the most part, just have faith. If that bar is full and you press Curse, you just get to a Hornleech again. Just mash it, just make sure it's lined up, and don't worry about looking at the Hornleech cooldown, because it's going to take care of itself. Now, there are, like, again, the weird situations where you do this, and then you make sure, like, you're kind of getting it, but it's a very small window to where, like, the game will play itself a bit, and that's something to be very aware of. So I think that's what gives, like, a lot of viability and credibility to Curse Hornleech. However, level 5 through 6, like, well, level 5 and 6, kind of weak. Just kind of walk around, pre-Dreadnought, B fights, Audino secures, getting ganked, receiving ganks, where all you can do is just, like, Curse people. Now, you do get the Branch Poke reset, so it's, like, the same idea. Branch Poke, Curse, they're slowed, stack it up, pop curse, bonus damage, branch poke in or out, depending on how it is. You're not contributing to the fight at that point, but you're helping, you're trying. Let's show the Woodhammer, because Woodhammer's got some shenanigans to it as well. That's mostly going to be the Trevenant. That's how you leave battles, right. And now we have Woodhammer. So Woodhammer, it's an interesting little move because you group multiple enemies together, like they get pushed in, and then you also get a follow-up if you land it. So naturally you just have like the insanity of Woodhammer exactly where you want them, Horn Leech multiple, and then follow up with another Woodhammer. And it feels pretty good, but depending on like mobility, full heal, flashes and stuff, it can be kind of unreliable. Also, you can move around while casting the Woodhammer, but you need to be moving before it casts, or else like it kind of gets really stuttery and weird. So if I guess we just kind of get to sit here and wait for that. Like if I cast it while moving. With this, if I cast it then try to move, you don't really get as much. You kind of like stop yourself. So something to make note of. And then the second Woodhammer, you can't really move around with it. So little bit of tech, little bit of things to do. You know, there's things where it's like Woodhammer, do that, auto while they're coming down, and then like cancel into it. And then you just kind of want to keep the crowd control going. That's really it. It's like you're going to find places where like, need to back up, make sure I just landed just right. Maybe they get out of it. Maybe you over predict and then you just miss Woodhammer entirely. You get the follow up. Using it at low health means they're crowd control for a long time. Using it around half is going to be tricky because then they can just get out of the second one. Like that's my big problem. Like I've just had to where people get away or I just crowd control an entire team. So the way I see this, higher skill cap, higher counterplay, much greater reward than the curse. Even though curse has like the double carry, Horn Leech, 10 years of CC, can't do anything about it. Problem about Horn Leech is that it's awkward with how much it pushes them and the way they push them. So you can just like move an opponent too far and stun them too long outside of your opponent's abilities, or kind of like juke your team and have some weird stuff happen. Whereas with the Woodhammer, like they're stuck here. Like they're going where you want, they're going to be locked in place, and your team is going to be able to get the follow-up a lot easier on them. Just weird stuff to note when it comes to the Trevenant. So like, yeah, you can push them around, you can stun them, you can hit them, and just this is what Trevenant battle looks like. Or Trevenant versus any tank, and even like carry Pokemon just kind of gets weird. So yeah, you hit that. I got into it a bit, getting another hammer, barely finding it. It just kind of scuffed. Like Trevenant 100% needs a team, and depending on like how you're doing things and how that team follow-up works is where the game plays out. That's why I mean, like you group multiple people up, you get that, and then depending on how the targeting screws you over, you can hit multiple people, play the game. And then your Unite move is just cracked. Read the Unite move, self-explanatory what it does. You want to hit a lot of people, you want to get a big shield, you want to get a lot of passive procs because they take more damage, and then you just run around, heal, more cooldowns, more carry, more stun. That's Trevenant. That's why I mean, like, Trevenant has its own interesting thing. It's a very meticulous Pokemon, I feel. You have to play very carefully to make sure you're landing all of your abilities just right. Your positioning, even though like you're an unkillable tank, needs to be pretty good. Your ability to land stuff, make sure they're in the right place, also needs to be pretty good. You apparently can be buffering that while crowd controlled. And then you are very teammate reliant, so you can feel bad. And Horn Leech is small, so you can just miss, and you're just kind of fiddling around for a bit. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.